Get comfy, my friends, because this one's an emotional roller coaster ride. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and yes, welcome back to yet another brand new movie review. Today on the docket is Words on Bathroom Walls, one of the most original titles of the year, I must say. It's directed by Thor Freudenthal, I hope I pronounced that last name correctly, and it stars a whole bunch of talented people. In this movie's central character is Adam, a high school senior who is very witty, very introspective. He's kind of a smartass, and his ultimate dream is to become a top-notch chef one day, perhaps even opening his own restaurant along the way. But we learn early on in the film that he's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and Adam really struggles with keeping it a secret. All the while, he's falling in love with a brilliant classmate named Maya, who inspires him to open his heart and not be defined by his condition. Now, I realize the review for this movie is a little bit on the later side, but point blank, here's the reason why. I wanted to see this movie in theaters, but I just unfortunately could not make it to one. Even though I wanted to, never fear, folks, I really wanted to check this one out, because believe me, I have seen a lot of your guys' reviews, and I've heard a lot of the buzz about it, and I really wanted to throw my 2 cents in when I could, so I finally took the leap the other day. I went out and bought the Blu-ray and watched it this way, and let me just say, wowza. Words on Bathroom Walls is honestly one of the most underrated films of the entire year. And a big reason as to why that is because this cast of performers is just so phenomenal across the board. Starting with this leading turn by Charlie Plummer as Adam, and he gives the performance of his life here. One thing that really shocked me about not only this performance, but this film in general, is how they dealt with this subject matter. How his condition was portrayed was handled with a lot of respect, but he is not afraid to make a joke at his own expense. This is actually a really witty script. Keep in mind, this is a coming-of-age film. It's one of my favorite genres, and one of the big reasons why coming-of-age films strike me so much is just how relatable they are. And most of them get that relatability by being funny as hell. I mean, look at The Breakfast Club, look at Ferris Bueller, look at Love, Simon most recently. Love, Simon similarly dealt with a touchy subject matter, but it dealt with it with a lot of class. Words on Bathroom Walls pretty much does the exact same thing here. This kid is one of the most likable kids you could ever come across. And you could level with him. You feel like you could hang out with this kid just because of how open he is. Because he's grown very accustomed to his way of life at this point. Keep in mind, this is not the dramatic masterpiece that A Beautiful Mind is. But there's just so many instances. One of my favorites is actually where he goes on a big monologue about the side effects of the medication he's taking. So funny the way he delivers it. And the comedy, I think, really helps get the audience behind this kid, and it makes him come off very endearing. Now, that's not to say there's no drama at all to Words on Bathroom Walls. There were tons of really intense, uncomfortable moments almost involving his parents. His mom, played by Molly Parker, and his stepdad, played by Walton Goggins. Excellent performances, by the way. I'm a huge fan of Walton Goggins ever since I saw him in The Hateful Eight in theaters. But this relationship with his parents was probably the most emotional aspect of this story. And in just a second, I'll just get into why that's a bit of a problem. But this arc, the given circumstances in Adam's household, you could just feel the tension building up sometimes. You could feel that there's some loose feelings lingering there, and Adam is not afraid to lash out when he thinks something wrong is going on behind the scenes. And there were honestly points with these characters where I was legit tearing up. And you know what's amazing about these performances? I never felt like I was watching actors. I felt like I was watching characters in given circumstances in specific environments dealing with very real issues and very raw emotions. Now, speaking of relationships and emotions, let's talk about Adam's love interest, Maya, played by Taylor Russell. Phenomenal performance also. And I was really pleasantly surprised to see so many layers written into this character. She's the would-be valedictorian of her senior class, but she's got her own secrets about her home life that she isn't necessarily proud of. Not to get too deep into spoiler territory, but very cleverly written this character is, as is the rest of the movie. This is such a great script. Not only very cleverly written, but amazingly helmed. This is such a beautifully directed movie. That and the cinematography also really helps to sell the agony of Adam's situation. There were some POV shots that just floored me, and the blurriness of some scenes and the sound design all put together, oh my gosh, It was something else, for sure. Excellent, excellent filmmaking. This is one of the biggest surprises of the year, in a year filled with surprises. And before I forget, before I get into my main issue with this movie, there are a couple more performances that I want to talk about. And I'm not going to get into spoiler territory about who or what these characters are, but the technicals, let me just say, play a key part in that. First off, Devon Bostick is Joaquin. You might recognize that name from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. He played the older brother, Roderick. Man, has he come a long way from that trash. But he was super freaking hilarious. Every time he popped up, I was like, sweet, what one-liners are we getting now? And last but not least in the performance department, I gotta talk about AnnaSophia Robb. Yes, you heard me right, a new movie with AnnaSophia Robb in it. I haven't seen her in a new movie in a really, really long time. Maybe since Race to Witch Mountain, actually. Yeah, you remember this hot garbage? The Rock is playing a taxi driver and he's driving around two alien kids. AnnaSophia Robb was one of them. Movie going was a good time back then. But all jokes aside, Robb has grown so much as a performer, and it shows here. I mean, ever since Bridge to Terabithia, she has just grown a heck of a lot as a performer, and she was absolutely magnificent here. Such a great presence. Clearly, obviously, I'm gonna recommend this movie to you guys. However, I did mention I do have one key issue with this film, and unfortunately, it's a pretty big one. I'm going to talk about the romance for a second. I'm not going to say that the romance was bad. I thought these two had really good chemistry together. I kind of wish that the romance was a little bit more investing than it was. Not that it isn't investing at all, but let me just put this in perspective for you. Look at this Blu-ray cover real quick. This is basically the main poster to promote this movie. You can kind of see that the writers really want to play up this relationship, and they want to play up the romantic aspect of it. But there were just other parts of the movie that I was way more invested in, like the storyline with his parents. And they really wanted to push this relationship hard, and it does get a lot of screen time, but I just wasn't as invested in it as some other story elements. All that being said, Words on Bathroom Walls is a damn good movie. I'm gonna give it an A-. I think this is honestly one of the most unique coming-of-age dramas that you'll ever see. I strongly, strongly recommend you check it out if you haven't yet. I think the really remarkable thing about this film is that it takes some pretty hefty subject matter, and it adds some comedic flair to it. And it's just enough to the point where it doesn't insult the audience's intelligence, or better yet, it doesn't insult the disorder itself. I think this is one of the most special films of the year, and it might be one of the most underrated films of the year. Have you guys seen Words on Bathroom Walls? Do you guys enjoy it? Do you not? What's your favorite aspect of it? I would love to hear all of those thoughts down in the comment section below, and then some. I would love to discuss this movie with you guys further. And hey, if you guys are enjoying this content and you guys want to continue discussing movies and all things entertainment with me, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can, so that way you guys can stay in the loop anytime a new upload hits the channel. And if you enjoyed the video, also, of course, be sure to leave a like on your way out too. I'd really appreciate that. Of course, as always, look out for more exciting content hitting the channel very soon, including new talk about new releases, as well as a continuation of my David Fincher series. You guys are awesome. Seriously, thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean the world. With all that being said, back talk, commence!